Kids all over the world have loved playing video games ever since their inception in the mid-1900s. As technology has improved, so has the quality and realism of the games. Like films, some games have age restrictions because they are unsuitable for kids, but these indications are often ignored. Many people have expressed concerns that violent video games can have negative impacts on kids and can cause them to become aggressive or even violent themselves. Some research suggests that playing these games can have negative psychological effects on players, particularly young people, increasing violent or aggressive behavior. However, there is also a lot of research that has found there is no change in the behavior of people who play violent games, or even some have seen the games as an outlet for their aggression, which can have a calming effect. We decided to investigate people's opinions about violent video games. Can they make people more aggressive?
It could depend on the kind of game, as like if there are some kind of video games which will play with your mind.
I assume that it's like gets a lot of idea into people's minds.
Yeah.
So if they do that in the game, then probably try. No, not really. If someone's like likely to do that, it's probably unrelated to whether or not they play violent games. So if anything, it's probably better that people do that so they can really see like pent-up anger through that means rather than. Yeah.
I reckon they can. Like, since I was like when I started playing games, I've noticed I've gotten violent myself a little bit. But yeah, they can change your mindset and sort of think they kind of manipulate you to kind of think you can do what you see on the games.
I think that a lot of it would depend on maybe the amount of time they spent doing it, and also probably the personality. I think probably maybe some people could be more susceptible to it.
Yeah, I definitely think they can contribute to that, but I think in kids there's maybe a lot to do with their parents, but I think if they grow up and they're surrounded by violence and violent films and video games, then it is going to have an impact on their life and what they sort of perceive to be reality and what is and isn't.
I think it's just more down to the experience a child has in childhood that will determine their behaviour. Like, if they're in a very abusive household, then they're probably going to get really angry at things just because the parents would have gotten angry at them for very little reasons or no reason and maybe abused them, and they'd have the same tendencies and behaviour.
What are you playing, Jamie?
Skyrim.
Do you think playing violent games makes people aggressive?
No, I would just say, it's fun.
You don't think that after you play Skyrim you're going to go and stab Cameron?
Well, when he punches me and kicks me, it feels like I really want to,
Right.
but no. It's just a game. So it's not really.
Okay.
Most of the public we interviewed thought that it depended on the individual and how it affects them directly, as different people take violence in different ways. Some of the people also thought that families had a big impact as to whether it would affect their levels of aggression, depending on how they were looked after or raised. There are millions of kids and teenagers around the world that are playing violent video games every day. Should we be concerned about this?
No, not really. No. Like what? But if you're in like a kid's age, then it's a concern that small and minors, they get into possession of such games.
Yeah, well, in the future they could all become criminals in some way. It isn't not that big an issue at the moment, but it could get bigger.
It's a concern if it becomes all encompassing that that's all they do and everything revolves around that. They start maybe acting out some of those things, or again that reality line gets blurred. It gets blurred, and they start not separating it in that.
No, but I think it kind of depends on the age of the children, because I know lots of people who do it and they know the difference between it being a video game and it sort of, it being not reality basically.
After talking to various people, we thought maybe violent video games can affect people negatively, but we thought it was mostly an issue with kids. All games have rating restrictions, So perhaps more emphasis should be put on keeping kids away from games they shouldn't be playing.
Yes, as well. Parents are also responsible for that because they are not when they're the kids. Kids are not sure about what's going to happen in the game, but the parents are more mature and they should be able to understand. Okay, this kind of game could impact the children in this manner.
Children who, if they do sort of video games from a younger age, then they sort of their perception of reality is sort of slightly warped. And yeah, so I suppose it depends on the age of the child who's playing the video games and quite how violent and aggressive the video games are.
Age restrictions, there has to be like a certain age, but different people mature at different ages, and there are just some kids that just aren't mature enough to play certain games, and there are kids of the same age that are. So it's very dependent on the kid and their experiences and how mature they are at the time. But so yeah, I think they should just not be allowed to play it in case they aren't like mature enough.
Well, I suppose ratings on games are there for a reason, and parents shouldn't let their kids play games that are unsuitable.